What is up, BookTube? Welcome back to my channel. Well, welcome back. Basically my first video. What I'm going to do today is kind of show you some of the favorite books that I've read in the last year or so. Kind of when I review books, I put them in three piles. I either put them in I regret reading, glad I read it, but will not read again, or will reread. So what I'm going to show you today is my will reread pile from the last year. It only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books. And then for good measure, I threw in one self-published book as an honorable mention in there as well. So the first book, The Dog Stars by Peter Heller. Really thought that the middle section of this, kind of when he leaves and he goes on his grand adventure and chases his heart, I thought that part of this book was absolutely beautiful and fantastic. Kind of conflicted on this one. There are parts of it where I loved it. Some parts where it drug on and it was nothing too crazy special. Definitely interested in the movie. I think it will make a better movie than it did a book, which is kind of rare. But that is my first book that is in the reread pile. It kind of made the list because some parts of it were just so good that it kind of brought up the rest of the parts that I thought drug a little bit. Second book on the list. We've all seen it by now. This is How You Lose the Time War. I think this one made the list just purely on, one, I'm kind of a sucker for purple prose and poetic prose. Two, just the completely unique premise. You can see maybe on the shelves behind me, the Sun Eater series back there. Kind of got two shelves dedicated to sci-fi books. Kind of is my go-to genre. However, I love the literary stuff as well, so seeing the two mixed together, pretty unique, and I really enjoyed it. So definitely want to get back to this one, kind of see how it weaves all together, kind of comes full circle in the end. Kind of want to reread it, knowing how it ends, see what I can pick up on, what I can catch. And the next book, the first fantasy novel on the list, is Tigana by Guy Gavriel Kay. This is my first Guy Gavriel Kay book that I have ever read. I had heard it's his best one. Well, I think there are absolutely some, I don't know, let's say, sexual themes in here that I am definitely on the board of they do not fit whatsoever. I get what he was going for, but they just did not fit. They didn't work. Other than that, some of the writing in this, at one point he's describing people sitting around a campfire and he's just talking about how everybody's feeling, how the sky looks, that sort of thing. Some of the most beautiful writing I think I have ever read. Tigana. And next on the list, kind of unexpected, but back to the sci-fi genre, we got a book called Halo Epitaph by Kelly Gay. And kind of what this book is a endnote almost, an epilogue to Greg Bear novels, may he rest in peace, called the Forerunner Saga, which are really weird books. However, this is kind of my favorite kind of themes in books. Somebody that is trying to overcome suffering, get to a better place, succeeds in the end. Spoiler alert. But some of this, kind of a lot of the themes in here are things that I've battled with, and I found some of it to be very beautiful, very unique, and not something that you expect in a book series or a book based on a video game. I really love Kelly Gay's writing in this Halo series, especially when she is allowed to just go her own way and she is not put into confines where they say you cannot expand the story, you cannot go anywhere. Here, she was kind of able to expand a little bit. And down to my final two. So before I do those last two that are on my reread pile, I'm going to talk about my self-published honorable mention. It's called Rook by authors Aaron Marquise and Adam Kovic. Big complaint about this book is it is probably twice as long as it needs to be. It is, what, almost 400 pages. Probably should have been a 200-page book. Concept's nothing crazy. It's basically Ready Player One. The controls this thing from a VR headset. However, a lot of good humor in this, very much self-deprecating humor. And it's also got a very unique thing where at the end of every chapter, it's got these QR codes that you scan, and then it takes you to a podcast where the writers talk about writing the book. I kind of wish they did something a little bit more that was about the story. Like they were extra things about the story as opposed to, you could definitely tell as they go, they got tired too, and the podcast kind of, they go downhill the longer that this book goes on. But I thought it was a cool concept and it was unique. I enjoyed reading it. Last 100 pages or so kind of were long in the tooth, but definitely worth reading. Not positive I'll ever reread it. If I had to guess, I'll probably reread maybe the first 100 pages because I did enjoy the writing in it. All right, so my final two, and I think my two favorite books that I have read, definitely plan to reread. You've probably seen them all over BookTube. However, kind of sums up what my taste is if you have not caught on already. Got a book called City of Thieves by David Benioff. I picked this book up not because I saw it on BookTube, but because I'm a huge fan of the video game series The Last of Us. And in The Last of Us Part 2, well, one, the creator of that game has come out and outright said that the series was kind of inspired by him reading this book. But before I heard that, I saw one of the characters in that game, she fell asleep reading this book, and I kind of looked into it from there. This is another book that does my favorite thing. It completely comes like full circle moment from beginning to the end, and I am an absolute mark for that, absolute sucker for that. Haunting book, funny book, beautiful book, definitely worth a read. One of the two books, this and the next one, probably the fastest I have ever read books in my entire life in terms of how many sittings it took me. Probably two for this one. So my number one book that I have read in the last year or so, of course, Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I don't even know what to say about this book. It is the most joyful writing I have ever read, while also being somehow dark and haunting, but beautiful and hopeful and optimistic. I just loved every second of this. The way at first you think it's just a simple, silly, happy-go-lucky, Hakuna Matata, no worries sort of book, but then by the end you are like, what on earth actually is going on here? What just happened? Most of all, is he okay? In the end, you'll have to read and find out. Absolutely love this book. Some of the most joyful writing, despite maybe some of the hardest, when it comes down to it, hardest themes, hardest thing, maybe that was actually going on. Love this book. Definitely will be rereading. Kind of could see myself rereading this on almost an annual basis. So there you have it. There are my books I plan to reread. Just one more bonus. What I'm currently reading is rare thing for me. I don't usually read comics, but I have heard such good things about the Superman Woman of Tomorrow comic. And after seeing the movie Supergirl, which, by the way, despite its terrible reviews, I actually enjoyed. Come the end of it, I thought the ending fight scene and just some of the overall moments, when she flew into space and did that scream and just a single tear flies into space and it's just that silent scream. I think people who have been there kind of felt it, and the movie kind of maybe worked more so for those folks. But I am definitely seeing some places already. I am only through the first book, the first run of this comic in here, and I definitely see they're changing some things that they did not need to change. This book on its own was hilarious and very well written. So kind of confused, definitely seeing where people are coming from there, but really enjoying this. Probably only about the third graphic novel comics that I've ever read. Kind of only pick out the ones that I hear amazing things about. But there you go. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate it. See you soon for more videos.
When I wake up and I soak in the sun's sweet rays, and I'll begin to sing my song, knowing where I've been, who I've seen, when I've sinned. I'm standing clean with a tailwind.